Hello everybody and welcome. I really hope you enjoy this one. Please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps our channel. Today we peel back the layers of a tale that has intrigued true crime enthusiasts for decades. We're taking a close look at a man whose actions sent shockwaves through the heart of the UK, Malcolm Fairley. Known infamously as the Fox, Fairley's story is one of darkness and obsession. But who was this man, really? Now let's delve into the dark world of Malcolm Fairley. Born in 1952, Malcolm Fairley grew up in a small town in Scotland. A place where the air is crisp, the landscapes are breathtaking, and the people are as hardy as they come. Malcolm Fairley, however, was a square peg in this round hole of a community. The Fairley family was much like any other in their town. His father was a labourer, while his mother stayed home to care for Malcolm and his siblings. It was a simple life, but one that held its own unique challenges. Malcolm, from an early age, struggled to fit into the mold his family and society had set for him. Education was not Malcolm's strong suit. He battled with the structured environment of the classroom, often finding himself at odds with teachers and classmates alike. This struggle was not due to a lack of intelligence, but rather a restlessness, a desire for something more that the confines of a small Scottish town could not provide. As Malcolm grew older, this restlessness turned into something more troubling. He began to show early signs of deviant behavior. It started with small acts of rebellion, truancy, petty theft, and the occasional scuffle. However, as the years went on, these minor indiscretions began to escalate. His parents, struggling to understand their son's behavior, sought help from local authorities, but their efforts to curb Malcolm's behavior were largely unsuccessful. Despite his troubled upbringing, Malcolm maintained a semblance of normality. He held down a job as a labourer, much like his father, and even got married at a young age. However, this outward appearance of normality belied the turmoil that was building within him. Malcolm Fairley's life was a complex tapestry of contradictions. A troubled soul in a quiet town, a deviant hidden behind the facade of normality, a restless spirit confined by the limitations of his environment. But nobody could have anticipated the dark path Fairley would eventually tread. In his late 20s, Fairley started to show signs of criminal behavior. A shift was occurring. A dark cloud was beginning to form over the life of Malcolm Fairley. His descent into crime was not sudden, but a gradual, chilling progression. The first known crimes committed by Fairley were relatively minor. He started with petty thefts, stealing from local shops and homes in his neighborhood. This was a man who found thrill not just in the act of stealing, but in the twisted joy of invading another's space, of violating their sense of safety and security. As time went on, his crimes escalated. The arrests began to pile up, but each time he managed to slip through the cracks of the justice system. He was like smoke, elusive and hard to pin down. Fairley's criminal activities were not just increasing in frequency, but also in severity. He was no longer satisfied with just stealing. He craved more. His thirst for thrill and dominance led him to more alarming and dangerous crimes. He began breaking into homes not just to steal, but also to assert power and control. He was morphing into a figure that would later earn him the chilling moniker of the Fox. The authorities were often left baffled by his audacity and cunning. He was always one step ahead, always lurking in the shadows, ready to strike fear into the hearts of his victims. And strike fear he did, with each crime more daring and twisted than the last. Fairley's early crimes were a terrifying precursor of what was to come. He was spiraling down a path of darkness, a path that would lead him to become one of the most notorious criminals of his time. His story serves as a chilling reminder of how a seemingly ordinary man can morph into a monster, driven by a twisted desire for control and dominance. Yet these early crimes were just the beginning of Fairley's terrifying spree. The truly horrifying chapter of Malcolm Fairley's life was yet to unfold as he continued to stalk the shadows, waiting for his next opportunity to strike. By the early 1980s, Fairley had earned a chilling moniker, the Fox. At this point in our tale, Malcolm Fairley had already embarked upon a dark path, one that would lead him to become one of the most notorious criminals in British history. His crimes had escalated from mere burglaries to sexual assaults, a grim evolution that would mark Fairley's descent into infamy. Fairley's modus operandi was as cunning as it was cruel. He would stake out isolated homes, often in rural or semi-rural areas, and strike under the cover of darkness. His victims would wake to find a masked intruder in their homes, armed and terrifying. It was this stealth and audacity that earned him his nickname. Just like a fox, he was elusive, cunning, and struck without warning. His burglaries were not for financial gain, but rather they served as a means to an even darker end. Fairley would pilfer personal items from his victims, taking not just their sense of safety, but also their privacy. Often he would leave behind signs of his presence, a chilling reminder to the victims that he had been there, in their homes, in their bedrooms. But his reign of terror did not stop at burglary. Fairley's crimes escalated to include sexual assaults, marking a horrific turn in his criminal career. His victims were left traumatized, their lives forever marked by the terror they had experienced at the hands of the fox. The fox was not just a burglar or a sexual predator. He was an embodiment of fear, a shadowy figure who invaded homes and left a trail of psychological damage in his wake. His victims, many of them women living alone or with young children, were left to grapple with the aftermath of his crimes, their lives irrevocably altered. The fox had instilled fear across the region, yet his reign of terror was far from over. Despite the growing sense of fear and the mounting evidence, the fox remained elusive, always one step ahead of the law. His story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places. In 1985, the law finally caught up with Malcolm Fairley. An end was coming to the reign of terror that had shaken the country to its core, perpetrated by a man dubbed the Fox. The Fox had slipped through the authorities' grasp for far too long, but the tireless efforts of the investigators finally paid off. The breakthrough came when one of Fairley's victims, in a courageous act of defiance, managed to provide police with a detailed description of her attacker. This led to the creation of an e-fit image that was circulated nationwide, igniting a spark of recognition in a Buxton police officer. This officer had previously arrested Fairley on a minor offense, and the e-fit bore an uncanny resemblance. A subsequent raid on Fairley's residence led to the discovery of a damning collection of evidence. Among the items found were stolen goods, weapons matching those described by the victims, and a distinctive red flashlight, a chilling signature of the Fox's reign of terror. Combined with the positive identification from multiple victims, the case against Fairley was solidifying. The trial that followed was a media frenzy. Fairley was charged with a total of 26 offenses, including burglary, sexual assault, and the terrifying possession of a firearm. The courtroom was filled with an air of tension as the victims and their families awaited justice. The verdict was swift and unanimous. Fairley was found guilty on all counts, his fate sealed by the overwhelming evidence against him. The judge, in his closing remarks, described Fairley as a persistent and dangerous offender and sentenced him to life imprisonment. Fairley's reign of terror had ended, but the scars he left behind would never fully heal. The victims and their families, forever marked by the Fox's actions, had to find a way to move forward. The story of Malcolm Fairley serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places, forever etched in the annals of true crime. Even behind bars, the Fox's legacy lived on. Malcolm Fairley, the man known as the Fox, spent his days confined within the cold, unyielding walls of a maximum security prison. Yet his presence was felt far beyond those walls. His crimes left a deep scar on the community, a wound that time has struggled to heal. Families were shattered, trust was broken, and the sense of safety once taken for granted was permanently altered. The impact of his actions was not limited to his victims alone. It extended to the entire community, changing the way people lived and interacted with each other. In the years following his conviction, Fairley's life in prison was marked by a lack of remorse. His indifference towards his actions only served to deepen the wounds he inflicted on the community. Yet in the midst of this darkness, a lesson emerged. The story of the Fox served as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance, of community, and of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. His name, his crimes, the fear he instilled, these have become a part of the fabric of British history. They serve as a chilling reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink, but also of its capacity to rise again. Malcolm Fairley, the Fox, remains one of the most notorious criminals in British history. This concludes our chilling journey into the life of Malcolm Fairley, a tale of a man's descent into infamy, the fear he instilled and the justice served. An echo of the past reminding us of the shadows lurking within society. Thank you for watching.